Hey, what's happening, everyone? It is I, the man, the myth, the mustache, Tim here, and I've got a brand new video for you. Welcome to part 9 and the grand finale of What If Deku Got Black Whip Early. I just wanted to stop by and say hello, and sit back and relax because you are in for a treat. Now, let's get this story going, shall we?
I don't get it. I just don't understand it. Your quirk is trash. It couldn't even rival mine in the least. But how come you've been able to keep yourself one step ahead of me? Bakugou said with his back to Midoriya.
Kachan, Midoriya silently said. They had concluded the provisional exams, with Midoriya passing and getting his license, while Bakugou did not. The students had returned to Height Alliance to rest up, but Bakugou had called Midoriya out for a chat.
I remember when we were younger, and you were quirkless. You always fawned over my quirk. But right here in Ground Beta, you bested my quirk, and you went on from there to grow stronger and stronger with a simple support quirk?
Bakugou continued.
You were quirkless! Powerless! There wasn't any hope of you fighting me, less of winning! But here you are doing just that! It makes me so damn pissed, so right here, right now, I'm taking you on! I want to prove that I'm more superior to your trash quirk!
Bakugou yelled as he faced Midoriya and stared at him intensely. Kachan, I understand how you're feeling, but we can't fight here. It's against the rules. We could do this in a training session, Midoriya said, apprehensive to the whole idea of fighting. Honestly, he didn't really understand what Bakugou was angry about, but this wasn't the way to solve it.
Shut it! What do you understand? I'm the one who feels damn quirkless now, you bastard!
Bakugou growled. His scowl deepened, and he stretched his arms out. Kachan, please, we don't have to... Midoriya pleaded, but he stopped talking the moment a sharp pain throbbed in his head. Danger sense. Slowly, he'd become accustomed to the quirk's signals, and the pain from it was less intense than usual. It meant something bad was about to happen, and the quirk was always on the money with its predictions. Bakugou blazed towards Midoriya, with a thrust of his palm shoving an explosion towards Midoriya. Danger sense had already warned him, and Midoriya knew it was a matter of seconds before what the quirk had foretold would happen. So when Bakugou's attack came, Midoriya's reaction was preemptive. He swerved his head to the side, away from Bakugou's palm, but the heat from the explosion singed Midoriya's shoulder.
It's not a matter of what you want, you damn nerd! Either fight me with all your might, or get hurt!
Bakugou yelled as he kneed Midoriya in the gut, sending the boy tumbling. Midoriya gripped his midsection as he got up on one knee. Just hold on, Kachan. We can talk this out, Midoriya pleaded. His pleas fell on deaf ears. Bakugou launched himself towards Midoriya once again, his palms red-hot. Midoriya raised his left arm, and a black tendril shot through the night into the air and quickly grasped the top of the building that was behind Midoriya. He zipped up from the ground just as Bakugou drove both his hands forward, unleashing a wave of explosions that tore through the lower level of the building. Midoriya was left dangling in the air, panting as he looked down to Bakugou. This was bad. He was far too underprepared for this battle. He didn't have any support gear on him.
Where are you running, Deku? You don't know how I feel. I feel like I'm chasing your shadow,
Bakugou said, frustrated. He blasted his way into the air, closing the distance between him and Midoriya. Midoriya could see tears in Bakugou's eyes. He slowly came to understand what this was about. Bakugou felt exactly how Midoriya did before he got his power from All Might. Quickly, Midoriya struck his leg out and kicked Bakugou in the face before he got any closer. Midoriya placed his legs on the wall of the building and kicked off. He released the tendril before he fell and wrapped another tendril around a rusty lamppost, which he swung from until he landed safely on his feet. Midoriya had put some distance between himself and Bakugou, who was tending to his jaw and walking slowly. No, Bakugou, you're wrong. I do understand how you feel. I was always chasing your shadow too, always behind you, wanting to catch up to you. But you know being behind isn't always a bad thing. It's what made me strive to be better than you, Midoriya said, taking a stance. He crouched and crossed his hands over his chest. Black tendrils began to stream out of his palms when Midoriya's expression darkened. If it's a fight you want, it's a fight you get, Midoriya said, accepting Bakugou's battle invitation. Midoriya could see Bakugou smile a bit before his rival wiped the tears from his eyes. Midoriya understood that Bakugou needed this to clear his head, to release all of his pent-up frustration and confusion. The Atomic Blonde began to charge, dashing towards Midoriya, who flicked his wrist, sending a tendril at Bakugou. Bakugou's guard was up as he smacked the tendril away with an explosion, but the tendril merely altered its direction and wrapped around Bakugou's neck. Midoriya tugged on the tendril, drawing Bakugou close, causing him to drop his guard. Midoriya drove his right knee into Bakugou's chin, causing his opponent's head to snap backwards. But Bakugou caught himself. He didn't let the kick disorient him. He grabbed Midoriya's knee with his hand, letting out a mild explosion, but the impact made Midoriya go 180 degrees in the air. Bakugou got a hold of Midoriya and sent him slamming into the ground. Midoriya didn't let up either. When he hit the ground, he wrapped Bakugou's leg with a tendril and yanked his opponent down to the ground. Pain surged in his back, but Midoriya's adrenaline counteracted it. He got to his knees and aimed his two hands at Bakugou, wrapping him tightly with tendrils into a cocoon. Midoriya sighed. It was over, or so he thought. Boom! The tarred ground crumbled as Bakugou shot off with huge explosions. His hands were on the ground, and soon Bakugou was in the air, taking Midoriya with him, wriggling as he climbed high into the sky. Midoriya didn't know what Bakugou was planning, but it wouldn't end well for both of them. Bakugou sent out another explosion, ensuring they'd keep going higher and higher until Bakugou stopped and began falling while Midoriya was still going up. Midoriya realized in horror, and Danger Sense told him too. The collision between the two of them would be disastrous, and then they'd both fall to the ground. Midoriya was certain Bakugou had lost it. Quickly, Midoriya released Bakugou from his restraints. He leaned back in the air and got his legs up with his head facing down, planning to use Bakugou as a launch pad to send himself down and prevent a much worse collision. Bakugou set off small explosions, turning in the air and catching the soles of Midoriya's shoes in his hand before they dug into his back. Die! Bakugou screamed, letting a roaring explosion fly. The force kicked Bakugou up higher and higher into the air and sent Midoriya blazing down to the ground. Midoriya fell fast. He was in serious trouble. If he collided with the ground, there was no telling what would happen. Subconsciously, he seemed to draw power from within. Midoriya was summoning on strength he'd never used before. Lines of energy began to run through his body. He channeled it and let it flow through him. Midoriya had been used to limiting his power using Black Whip, and as this power flowed, it was limited to 10%. Midoriya clenched his fist as green sparks flew from his body and his eyes lit up. Detroit Smash! He yelled, and threw his fist just as he collided with the ground. A huge shockwave erupted with smoke, hindering Bakugou's sight. What was that? Bakugou wondered about keeping himself in the air with explosions, trying to get a clear view of what happened to Midoriya. He didn't have time to think, though. Midoriya came bursting out from the smoke screen, quicker than he'd ever been before, startling Bakugou, his eyes glowing a neon green as he drove his fist deep into Bakugou's gut, knocking the air out of him. Quickly, Midoriya flicked the same wrist that was still in Bakugou's stomach. Tendrils coiled around Bakugou's torso, then Midoriya threw him down to the ground. Bakugou cushioned his fall with medium-scale explosions as he got to his feet, watching Midoriya land unhurt. So you were still hiding your power from me? I'll kill you, Deku, if that's what it takes to get you to fight me! Bakugou screamed, angrier than before. The explosions in his palms crackled with deadly intent. Danger Sense went haywire for Midoriya. He only had a second to react. Bakugou cupped his right fist in his open left palm and fired off a compressed ball of explosions. Midoriya knew the AP shot's piercing power. It had punched a hole in a rock, and it would have done the same to him had he not rolled out of the way. Bakugou, that was dangerous! You could have... Midoriya paused. He looked into Bakugou's eyes. His former friend was consumed purely by rage, void of any reason. Midoriya knew he had to finish this, or getting hurt was the least of his problems. He managed to leap away from another flurry of explosions that were sent his way, putting distance between him and Bakugou. Midoriya could hear sharp footsteps. People were coming their way. What he'd normally do was to stall so Aizawa or another teacher would put an end to this. But he knew he had to give closure for both him and Bakugou. He would end it with his next move. Midoriya had already started to fatigue from using 3 quirks at once. "I'm gonna do what you want, Kacchan. I'll finish this with as much strength as I can muster," Midoriya said, deadly serious.
"I wouldn't have it any other way, nerd,"
Bakugou growled. Midoriya surged one for all throughout his body, cranking up his usage to 40%. His muscles, bones, and body burned with pain. He ignored it. This was the final act. He planned to give it his all. Black tendrils poured from his hands, waving wildly in the air. Midoriya took a crouched stance, ready to go. Bakugou leapt in the air, explosions blowing from his hands one after the other as he began to spin, rapidly turning into a human torpedo as he launched himself at Midoriya, tearing through the air at blinding speeds. Midoriya was ready and alert. He leapt high in the air with a backflip, letting Bakugou blaze by him. Midoriya shot his tendrils out while he was upside down. With Bakugou in view, the black whips aimed specifically at the outward region of the torpedo restrained Bakugou's arms at the elbows. "This ends now!" Midoriya declared, landing back in his position with his arms above his head. He used his Herculean strength to slingshot Bakugou back to the ground. Midoriya twisted his upper body with a ready punch, reducing his usage to 15%. Smash! His fist collided with Bakugou's back, driving the spiky blonde into the ground, creating a crater with Bakugou's body at the center. "I did it. I finally beat you, Kacchan," Midoriya said with wobbly feet and blurred vision, but a smile plastered across his face. The toll of using 3 quirks evidently wore him out. From a distance, he could make out the figures of All Might and Aizawa rushing towards them, just before he passed out, falling on an equally passed out Bakugou. He was certainly in big trouble, but Midoriya knew what he and Kacchan gained from this fight was worth it. And that's our video, so thank you all for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed it. Before I go, I want you to know that We the Celestials has many other channels for your entertainment and viewing pleasures. All the information you'll need is right below in the description, so feel free to check out all the other incredible projects our team creates. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I want to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below as well. That's it for today's video, so thank you all for watching, and I do hope you have a fantastic day. And as always, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, stay awesome everyone. Mustache out!